Hey guys, Jay here, and this is my F1 fantasy team for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Hey guys, so first of all, apologies. I'm a little bunged up. I think I'm a bit under the weather, so apologies for that. But basically, last night, straight after the Grand Prix, more or less, I jumped onto my phone and I started playing around with a bunch of different team ideas because I'm desperate for points despite having a good result in Italy. In the end, I brought in Oscar Piastri. He has come in for Pierre Gasly, sorry, and I've also brought in Franco Colapinto, who had a really good first Grand Prix. To be fair, started 18th and finished in 12th. He was brought in for Kevin Magnussen, which we'll get to in a bit. I've kept Alexander Albon, but it does mean I had to get rid of Nico Hulkenberg, and I brought in Valtteri Bottas, and that was just because it was either him or Zhou Guanyu. The other thing I've done is I've replaced McLaren with Ferrari because they've had some good results for the last three Grand Prix, and I think it's a no-brainer. However, because of my cost limit, I couldn't keep McLaren, but I can have Mercedes, and so I'm hoping that this is going to bear fruit because I've basically got, in theory, well, I have technically got the six of the top eight drivers on the grid. We've got both the McLarens, both the Mercedes drivers through Mercedes, and both the Ferrari drivers through Ferrari. And that said, congratulations to Charles Leclerc, for winning that Grand Prix in Italy. Now, the reason I've sacrificed my overtakes team because this was the only way to really beef this team up. The alternative was to go for the two Mercedes drivers, so that would have been Lewis Hamilton, George Russell, and I would have been able to keep Nico Hulkenberg, but the reason I didn't go with this team is simply because of three things. One, fastest laps and two driver of the days. Lando Norris got fastest lap in Italy, plus he has 7 driver of days at the moment to his name. So, if he gets both, that's an extra 20 points to 10 each. But also with the constructors, second place for fastest pit stops is Ferrari. So that's a few extra points as well if they perform on the pit stops. So, like I say, this was my alternative and the other reason this was my alternative as well is because Lewis and George have been climbing the rankings for various things as well. And over here we can see valuation changes. Obviously, Lewis has been climbing. So that was the alternative team, and that would have kept me Nico, which would have left me with at least one of the top overtake drivers. But no, I've decided to go full on attack. I've kept Lando. I've brought back Oscar. Does mean that I've had to bring in Valtteri, and then that way I can keep Mercedes as well. Now, the other thing to this is obviously Kevin Magnussen has been banned for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix due to his little touch with Pierre Gasly. And so, I'm a big fan of Kevin Magnussen, to be completely honest. And he's performed well for my team this season. He's top of valuation changes. He's top of overtakes. And I know he's aggressive, but I do think he's been a little hard done by as well. But that's just my personal opinion. You probably won't agree with it. However, that said, Nico is obviously the other sort of hash choice, driver selection, overtakes. But I think for me, the way forward now is, full on attack with some back markers. Although Albon, I would argue, is midfield. So, yeah, that's the team I'm going for. It does mean I've used 4 transfers, so I am taking a 10-point penalty. But if this team bears fruit, then I'm laughing, I think. So that said, I did also look at my team for the Italian Grand Prix on Fantasy Tracker. So my budget is around 119 million, and I wasn't happy with the teams it was giving me. So the top teams, although they did, going by this, they would have apparently scored more points, I believe. And this is with the DNF percent off and the 3 times DRS off, because obviously I've used that chip already. But basically, the top team would have been Lando, the 2 Alpines, K-Mag's banned. So I'm assuming Ollie Behrman's coming in, and Zhou Guanyu. Otherwise, it's the 2 Alpines, the 2 Hasses with Lando, or it's bringing in Red Bull for McLaren, keeping Lando, bringing in the 2 Alpines again, and keeping Albon and Max. But I'm not comfortable with these teams. I'm not fully comfortable with the Alpines, although I'm keeping an eye on Gasly and Ocon, because they seem to be getting suggested to me quite a lot on F1 Fantasy Tracker. And I am a fan of the Hasses, there's no denying that. But I just, surely this is a much stronger team. It has to be going forward. So yeah, that's going to be my team for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. So talking of Italy, this is how my team did. So I actually changed my team before the Grand Prix. So after I did my last video, I brought in Lando Norris for Oscar Piastri, but it did mean I had to sacrifice Lance Stroll and bring in Pierre Gasly. And it paid off. I got 217 points, which is my highest scoring Grand Prix since Austria, where I scored about 213, I think. So, happy days. I mean, gutted that Lando obviously didn't win the race. Not fully happy with Oscar Piastri's move down the first corner, but then that's because I'm being biased, because I'm a McLaren fan, but aside from McLaren, my favourite driver is Lando Norris, so I'm being a little biased there. But nonetheless, it's my turbo driver, so a big 72 points. Gasly did bring in a point for me. I was gambling on Gasly a little bit because he had a great Zandvoort Grand Prix, Dutch Grand Prix, but the Alpines have been unreliable. And again, that goes back to like my fantasy tracker issue with the Alpines being suggested. But I gambled on him, and it paid off because Lance Stroll ended up P19, so which was a bit surprising. But yeah, I got a point with Gasly. K-Mag, I thought K-Mag did really well, despite that penalty. Started 13th, finished 10th, gained 5 positions, got 5 overtakes, gained 3 positions. I think K-Mag is one of the best mid to back, I'm guessing tier B as they call it, drivers. And I would like to bring him back. I really would. If I can get the cash for my back 3, for these 3, if I can get the cash, I'd like to bring him back. Alternatively, obviously, there's always Nico Hulkenberg. Unfortunately, again, he got that penalty, start the race, and it just kind of messed his race up. So he lost 7 positions, so -3, unfortunately. Albon, I thought Williams would do well in Monza, especially Albon, and he did. Picked up 2 points. That was because of Magnussen's penalty as well, partly, but he did well, and so did like I said earlier, so did Colapinto. I hats off to Colapinto, because I did think about bringing him in for Italy as a gamble, but I mean, if he can do that again in Baku, that would be great. So that's the hope there. With Mercedes, we got 49 points, 3 positions lost. Obviously, that was because of George Russell. George Russell having to brake really late, and bit of damage first lap. So he dropped a lot of places, but again, he pulled it back because he finished P6 or I can't remember, but around that sort of area. But either way, he pulled it back, given that he had to pit early and that. And I feel a bit for George as well, because obviously he had that DQ after Belgium, which hit my team because he was in my team for that Grand Prix. The Mercedes was in my team for that Grand Prix, so it hit me there. So I feel a bit sorry for George at the moment because he's having a bit of bad luck, but he pulled it back in my opinion. And obviously McLaren P2, P3, can't complain too much. Happy days, and they're 8 points now adrift on the championship, so fingers crossed. But I do think they need to prioritize Lando now. Like, I know they're trying to be fair to Oscar, but come on, everyone's saying it. Like, you need to prioritize Lando now because he's the one that can take Max for that championship. But anyway, that was my score, and that obviously left me 2.5 mil in the bank to play around with. Now, league standings. So you can see here I've got another blue arrow in just under the top 25,000. So I'd like to say happy days, but guys, and this is the part of the video I was dreading, I need to put myself in the box of shame. Now, why do I need to put myself in the box of shame? Here's why. Because at the start of the season, I joined a bunch of featured leagues and I pinned the F1 Nation World Championship. And so out of pure habit, that's the league I've been looking at throughout the season. So I thought I was around the 25,000 mark, which I was happy with. However, sadly, I'm not. I'm actually 3 times lower. But it is a blue arrow. I'm in the top 100,000. And that sounds bad, but there are 300,000 players in the F1 Nation World Championship. There are 2.4 million players in the global, which is, I believe, 8 times bigger. So if I did my maths correctly last night, believe it or not, anyone who's around my ranking, we're in the top we're around the top 4% of players, which is crazy to think, given that our ranking is so low. But yeah, the usual thing. I'm actually just over 1,000 points now from the top. So the rest of the season for me is damage control. It's pure damage control now for the rest of the season. I'm looking ahead to 2025. A bit of channel background. I started playing F1 Fantasy in 2022, and to my surprise, the videos did well. So I stuck with it for a while, but then I had to stop due to personal reasons. And then unfortunately last year I got really sick. So it's only this year that I started playing again, and I'm trying to now play properly, like trying to get back into that rhythm. So, but yeah, Porsche F1 is a top, and you can see he's actually got both Piastri and Norris in their team. I'm saying here, I should say, I'm assuming it's a him, but anyway, so that's the point. Whereas the other, I'm looking for Leapers 1 because he's down to 7th because he's another big name that I sort of notice when I do these videos. 239 points, but Sergeant, and he's inactive. I don't know how that works, but anyway. But yeah, so I would like to think by the end of the season, the top 75,000, hopefully. That may be too much, but that would be good for me going into the new season. And to believe it or not, when I looked at my old videos the other week, the ones from 2022, I was actually ranked way lower. I was like 300,000 in the 300,000s. So I have actually improved, although very, very gradually. So yeah, and in terms of the PAPAYA-STEALTH Open, and this is getting embarrassing now, but again, I came at the bottom, unfortunately. 30 points adrift off Max Verstappen. Congratulations to DeRaven Racing. I hope you're doing okay. You came top. You won the Italian Grand Prix in the PAPAYA-STEALTH Open. So, and yeah, he brought in Colapinto, which is a good choice. So yeah, So anyway, guys, all that's left to say is if you enjoyed this video, then please do give it a like. And if you want to follow my team for the rest of the season or beyond into 2025, then do hit that subscribe button. I'm hoping to start focusing more on the F1 fantasy side of things. I'm still doing a bit of F1 Manager as well, and I started my campaign recently. If you want to check out part 1, you can do so by clicking on the card at the end of the video, or just simply go to the channel, go to the F1 Manager playlist. But otherwise, yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and yeah, let me know who's in your team and let me know what you think of this team. And obviously, I'm doing this 2 weeks before the Grand Prix, so if anything comes up before then, if there's like a, someone gets sick, or there's a, there's another kind of random suspension or something, I'll try and update my team and my video as quickly and best as I can, or I'll do like a community post or something. But theoretically, as things stand, unless anything happens, this will be my team going into Baku. It does mean I've used 4 transfers, so a 10-point penalty, and this will be my building block moving forward. So finally, guys, thank you for watching. I really do appreciate it, and I'll speak to you soon for the Singapore Grand Prix. Bye. So so Ollie's in P10, and he'll out-tire Albon, so we should get a little gap, hopefully. Yeah, we've got a little gap going. What's Stroll on? Stroll's on mediums as well. Oh, we got him.
Let's have a look at that.
Got Ocon.
So here we go, heading into turn 1. It's certainly inviting,